Hello, everyone. My name is John from Community Life Church in Catskill, New York, and this is Meals Ready to Eat from the Bible. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell icon to get notified. Facebook, follow us, like us, and everybody, please leave a comment. Thanks. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today's episode is God called Abraham, he called Jacob, and he calls you. This is a continuation of our series on destiny. When God calls us, he calls you and me, it's for his purposes, not for my purposes, his purposes. I can pick up the life of Jacob, see what he's up to, and see how it just continues to work out in his life. So, after he was wrestling with God in our last episode, he had a bunch of adventures. I'm not going to cover them here. All this interesting stuff happens. And then we come to chapter 35. And here God gives some instructions to Jacob, as well as some promises. So let's go take a look at that and see what God is saying to him and to us. Here's what it says. This is Genesis chapter 35, verse 1 and verses 9 through 12. Then God said to Jacob, "Arise, go to Bethel and live there, and make an altar there to God, excuse me, who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau." Then God appeared to Jacob again when he came to Paddan Aram, and he blessed him. God said to him, "Your name is Jacob. You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name." Thus he called him Israel. God said to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come forth from you. The land which I gave to Abraham and Isaac I give to you, and I will give the land to your descendants after you." Again, that's Genesis chapter 35, verse 1 and 9 through 12. So let's take a look and see what God is saying to us. That's what he's saying to you and to me today in this time. And first of all, we're starting to see what God is doing through Jacob. Starting to come to fruition, this long history of Jacob, a lot of which has not happened yet. And we'll see it culminate. Well, not culminate, but there's a very important point in the life of his 11th son, Joseph. So anyway, following our godly destiny means following God. You just don't get a destiny and go do what you want. We have to follow God. We have to obey God. We have to live by faith. It's by grace. Destiny is provided through faith. We acquire our destiny, live our destiny. And our nature is changed. And when we start to follow God, this is why we call it being born again. The sinful nature we were born to without God is now gone. The new nature is present. And in this case, Jacob's name was changed as well. Now, a lot of people get hung up on that. I'm getting a new name. I'm getting this and I'm getting that. That's just an incidental event on the way through Jacob's life. Don't get hung up on the name change. But God promised Jacob a future, and he promises you a future as well. And this is the same promise he gave to Abraham and to Isaac. And you can read about that in Genesis 12, and among other places, Genesis 12, 1 through 4, Genesis 15, 1 through 8, and Genesis 17, 1 through 8. And this promise, this destiny is for Jacob and his descendants, and that includes us. And we know it includes us because we read in the last episode, Galatians 3:29. Let me read this. "And if you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's descendants, heirs according to the promise." So it's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We are Abraham's descendants, Isaac's descendants, Jacob's descendants as well. We're included in that by virtue of the faith that we have and the work of Jesus. Now, Jacob's destiny, his descendants' destiny, and our destiny change everything around us for God. Jacob didn't see this until much later in his life. That's kind of a warning to us to be aware of what God is doing in our lives and the destiny we have through him. So, don't let this happen to us. And he does promise, "I will give the land to your descendants" in verse 12. And what that means is not only will he give it to his descendants, this land, but he gives us the promise of the kingdom through his descendants, through Jesus, who, by the way, is a descendant of Jacob. So we see this long stretch of destiny in his life and this future, and it impacts a lot of people and, in fact, changes the world. And that same destiny is for each one of us. Jacob was a simple, obscure man, and he changed the world. And you can too, by following Jesus, by following and living our destiny, our God-given destiny, that we can change and impact the world for God. So remember, he did it through Abraham, he did it through Isaac, he did it through Jacob, and he's going to do it. He can do it. He is doing it through you as well. Thank you so much.